You're listening to the Survivor Sweat Podcast with Mike Buchmiller and Russell Rosenblum. If you're looking for strategy articles and just about everything Survivor, head to survivorsweat.com. Now, let's get to it.
All right, welcome back, Survivor Sweat Pod for the 2024 Circa Survivor Contest. My name is Mike Buchmiller. Russell Rosenblum over here, my partner in crime. We were the 2022-23 Circa Survivor champions. We were the Jed entry. Jed was dead rather early last year. I did go back and research because I just wanted to know.
Too painful. I didn't do that.
Week 7, Rams, Steelers. The Steelers were always involved.
They were.
Jeez, last year. But new life. We are back in for 2024.
Everybody's back in for 2024.
Everybody's back in, and quite a few people. We'll get to those numbers for sure. The last time we saw you, we were discussing the nuances of, or the possible nuances of the new contest. That was just prior to summer.
Yep.
But then something happened over the summer. My friend over here had a nice
Survivor related or
no? Well, you survived.
I did a little bit.
Quite a few people. Mr. Rosenblum here finished 46th in the WSOP main event. How the heck was that run?
It was a trip. It was an intense run. As you know, I made the final table back in 2002, and they asked me at one point which one was a more intense run, and I just had to explain how they were all very different. But interestingly, in the follow-up interview where Jeff Platt hadn't realized that we had also won Survivor the year prior, so he asked again, now, not just of those two events, but of the three, which one, do I value the most? And not saying this just because of the pod, because this was a World Series interview. And my answer was actually Survivor. And it wasn't just because it was a first place as opposed to a sixth place or anything else. It's just, as I said, we had a small team, right?
Yep.
So we got to share that with the team. And it really does make a huge difference. If you got friends you do this with, it's way better than just doing it yourself.
Sure, absolutely. And I know you were out there by yourself in the table. You were on a sick run, keeping us updated. We had a chat group, a little thread, and just rooting them on. But at the end of the day, you're at the table, you're out there by yourself. All the decisions are yours.
Right.
And so, I mean, one hell of a run. I at one point was convinced you were going to make it. You were going to make that final table.
And I felt good about it the whole time. And I've gotten better about this over the years, but let's say 10 years ago when I busted the World Series main, it didn't matter whether it was day 1, day 3, day 4, or whatever. I wouldn't remember where we ended up that night, and the next morning it was always, we had a friend once that we went out and he ended up passed out on my garage floor. Like, it's just, as a poker player, busting the main is the worst possible feeling. And this year it was still not good. I mean, I made it really deep, and so in some ways it's, you're so close. But I think this was the best I've taken it in years because, as I said there too, I was able to come in every day, look around, and just sort of soak it all in. Like, it's so hard to get there. Probably never get back.
Yeah, I'm sure those thoughts and the emotions correlate from us like busting last year after winning it the year before. You just think you can get there. You think you just can persevere, find the teams, find the path. And then you're out week 7 and you're like, what the heck happened?
Yeah, exactly right. And I was moving along in the series. I got guys that I'm friendly with that I respect a ton. And, Jonathan Little, Phil Ivey, Daniel Negreanu, they've got more chips than me at points running super deep. And I look up and suddenly poof, they're gone. Poof, the next one's gone. And they're all better than me. I'm not saying I'm better. I'm certainly not saying that. But you've got to play great and you got to get very lucky and you got to avoid getting unlucky. I mean, things just have to go well.
Sounds like another contest.
It does. One with this year, last year you had almost the same number of participants. That should have been someone should have had a line, which is going to be bigger, the 2024 World Series of Poker main or the 2024 Survivor, and then not just which will be bigger, but there could be a line on it, like minus 1,000 entries or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be something fun to put together for sure.
Derek, I wonder if Derek's allowed to put that in there. I don't know if Circa can actually have that.
Who knows?
That'd be a fun line.
Speaking of last year's contest, it was the largest ever, and now fast forward. I think we're going to break that record.
Amazing.
I attended the Ultimate Contest weekend. I'm hearing from reliable sources that there are more unique signups, first-timers, than ever before, which will lead to that.
Absolutely.
Going over that number. That weekend alone, they had 2,500 signups during that Ultimate Contest weekend. And at this very time last year, there were 5,814 entrants. As of right now, up to the minute, 8,200.
Oh my gosh.
So
the guarantee was 10,000, right?
The guarantee was 10.
I don't think we're getting an overlay.
Oh no.
Sorry,
there's
Jeff, no
maybe in Circa Millions, but in Survivor, no overlay. In fact, it will be the largest prize pool. It's going to fly over that 10. And we're looking at a 12 number. And if the stars align, maybe 12.5.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's
unreal. Unreal.
I mean, it's like a 40% increase over last year.
Oh, it's crazy. I was looking at some of the numbers. Year one, there was a 1,390 participants, prize pool of 2.39. Year two, 4,080. Year three, I kind of like that year.
That's the year I like,
Yeah. 6,133. Last year, 9,296. An increase of 51.1% from the year prior, and a whopping 566% over the lifetime of the pool.
Yeah, and this was one of the questions I remember we had about this last year, is that how much of the increase was due to unique people and how much of the increase was because you were able to go from 6 entries to 10 entries.
Correct.
Because pretty much I think most people, I can say 100%, but I would imagine anybody that was going to be in it, 80% of the people that were going to be in it 6 entries probably do 10.
Yeah.
Right. And this year, it's not like they went from 10 entries to 15. It's still 10.
Yeah.
So all the difference is unique entries.
Correct. And just the buzz around the contest, it's promoted a lot more. They got the new docu-series out there.
I think I saw you on there briefly, very, very briefly, but I saw you.
Made a little cameo.
You did.
There might be something more tonight. I'm not sure.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, sure. With the added Thursday and Friday night games at the beginning of the contest, that is the only opportunity you can possibly lose and re-up and re-enter. So I'm hearing there are groups going in and trying to possibly sign up for 10, and then, I just don't know.
We talked about this, and, I guess you could line up the right set of games. These aren't them, my opinion, but you could line up the right set of games where if you really believed everybody was going to take one side of a game on a Thursday, there's a great opportunity to gamble and take the other side, to take the 6-point dog or 3-point dog, 2.5-point dog. But if it's 2.5-point dog, not everybody's taking the other side. They'll just wait for the Sunday game. But it could be a 6-point dog, 7-point dog, 9-point dog. And if you take that dog and you bust, you get another shot to go in, get back in. And if you survive, you could lose, 40% of the field or something, 30% of the field. That said, the NFL, they're not stupid. Now, it's nothing to do with Survivor. They can care less. But they're not likely to put up a game with a 9-point spread on that Thursday. That's opening day. They're looking to put up if you aligned with like a championship series rematch or Super Bowl rematch, where the two teams that lost on championship Sunday or something, if you were doing interconference games. And so I think the chances we see anything like that would only happen if the game is booked, it's on the books, and something like, Mahomes suddenly isn't playing. Like that type of thing. And then suddenly you could get some huge line.
Sure.
And that would be fascinating, right? But still, it's a little screwy because you could say that, good. Now, Kansas City's a 9-point dog because Mahomes isn't playing, so let's take Kansas City here. But now even when you win, you don't have Kansas City the rest of the year.
Oh,
so that's not a great spot.
And you'll soon learn how big of a factor Kansas City is in both Christmas and in Thanksgiving. They're a team that pop up both in those weekends where you have to play those select teams and hold some back. I can't be burning Kansas City right off the bat. There's just no chance. I mean,
why? Just because you can re-enter when they lose?
Sure, exactly. Don't want that. If you took Kansas City and you advance, I think you still lose.
Yeah, correct. You're a huge dog.
Opinion.
You're not much of a favorite.
Yeah, of course.
Even if they advance.
Last year, Detroit. You can make a case for taking Detroit. I think it was a 6-point game, 6.5-point game. You laid on Detroit on that Thursday. If you got bounced, you were back in.
As it turns out, Detroit's a team you would have liked to have later in the year. So
correct.
Unless you use them on Thanksgiving.
Correct. Well, you kind of didn't want to use them on Thanksgiving.
No, that's what I mean. unless you use them on Thanksgiving.
Exactly. So this year there's a Thursday and a Friday. As you pointed out, they are both 3.5-point games, 2.5, somewhere bouncing around there. Baltimore, Kansas City, Green Bay, Philly. I don't want to be involved in any of those games.
No, but I'll tell you something. Maybe it's a little self-serving, but at the end of the day, if you're itching to get back in so badly, just take whatever game you think you should be taking on Sunday, and if you bust, just head over to Survivor Sweat, and someone's going to be selling something.
Good point.
Maybe you're not paying $1,000, maybe you're paying $1,200, $1,400, $600. I don't know, but your EV on that has to be far better than taking some crappy spot in a Thursday night game, so you can spend 100% more money.
Agreed. Well, congrats again to last year's Circa Survivor champions, Circus Master, Jax Jags, Indiana Jet, L.A. Joneser. I was fortunate enough, I got to go to the championship dinner, got to meet these gentlemen. They've agreed that, they'd like to come on the pod, discuss a little bit about their path.
We should bring them out here one at a time. It'd be
absolutely. Fun. It was fun to sit around the table and listen to them and listen to their stories and their path, and did a little reminiscing of myself. Unfortunately, Russ wasn't able to make it, but you got to come out next time.
Yeah, I find myself, after I'm done with the World Series every year, as Mike knows, I head out with the family because I blow them off the entire World Series time, and we usually go out to the beach in California sometimes and just kind of veg out.
I'm not going to argue with you going to the beach.
I barely made it back last night, so we could sit here today. I should have just done it by Zoom.
Perfect. The L.A. Joneser story, I don't want to rehash it, but the story just keeps getting better. He did the improbable misclick where he had a family situation. He ended up clicking the wrong button. He thinks he's out of the contest. He took Green Bay when he thought he took Detroit.
Thanksgiving, right? On
Thanksgiving. He's ending up live betting Green Bay the whole game. And he ends up winning twice. He doesn't even know it. He live bets Green Bay.
Thinks he's hedging.
Then he's in the car on Saturday, and his proxy's trying to get a hold of him. Yes, get a proxy.
If he had no proxy and was going straight through Circa, he actually still makes it through Thanksgiving but he doesn't know it.
Yeah, he's the no pick.
Correct. So he ends up having the no pick the next day, which would be amazing.
Yeah, the proxy's trying to get a hold of him. He looks down. It's a foreign number. He doesn't want to answer it. And then he ends up picking it up.
Yep.
Here is his proxy. He's telling him he's in. He's quickly running through.
He's driving in his car, I think.
He's quickly running through. His wife's in the passenger seat. He's running through the three teams that he may have picked if he would have advanced. Right. And then he just picks the Titans.
And he actually said the other two he was going to pick actually both lost.
They both lost.
And he's driving in the car. The proxy called him, 15 minutes before. It's not like he had time to pull over and run numbers.
So he picks the wrong team. He live bets the right team. He gets the phone call. He takes one out of the three, survives. There was no chance he wasn't winning.
Oh, of course.
Absolutely.
And that's why, if I'm, what's Golden Boy?
Yeah.
At this point, you got a chance to chop with a guy that's like Destiny and Fate. You better just take that one.
Oh, yeah. What a villain he is on that pod.
He's funny, though. Whatever. It's all good.
No, I know. That's awesome. That is awesome. So last year, 4 winners. When we made it to the finish line, there were 2. I think that was the least amount. The year prior, 5. And very first year was 35. So
it's getting harder and harder to end before the end. Just there's so many entries. But
yeah. No, I hear you on that. So yes, get a proxy. I don't care if you're in town, out of town, get a proxy. It's insurance on your pick. You just don't want to go out like that. For sure.
So we've dealt with the past. Should we take a break and move on to the future? Or
Let's take a break, and then we will officially move on to 2024.
Right. I'm going to take a drink while we're breaking.
Good job.
Pass the tequila.
Yes.
Missing out on the biggest sports contest of the year just because you're not in Las Vegas? Now there's a solution with Survivor Sweat. Play from anywhere in the Circa Millions, Circa Survivor, or any of the biggest sports contests with America's first secondary marketplace to buy and sell contest entries. Buy an entry in the marketplace and then submit your picks each week into the contest using our preferred proxy partners. Make a deep run in a winner-take-all contest? Sell any piece of your Survivor entry in the Survivor Sweat secondary marketplace. Set your price, stake, and pick control status, and buyers can join the action from anywhere. Buyers can even resell their stake if the entry increases in value. Think of it as an eBay for sports contests. Now's your chance to win over $16 million. To learn more, visit survivorsweat.com and get started today.
Okay, so here we are. Week 1 of 2024 Circa Survivor Contest. Top plays for Week 1.
This is more like pre-K. I think we're going to have another shot at this before Week 1 actually comes out, don't we, or not?
I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get there.
Well, in case we don't get there, you better pay attention now. But we'll try to. We'll see if we get another shot before we...
of course.
Before the games go. Because there's still going to be a lot of changes here,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
so there will be some changes, of course. There have been changes in the line, changes in the win rate. But it looks like some of the top plays are the Bengals at -5 versus the Pats.
Well, let me be clear. When you say top plays, what are we talking about here? Popularity, or are you talking about
I'm going spreads first.
Spots you'd want to take. Okay.
Yeah, spreads first. Just the
biggest favorites.
The biggest favorites.
Got it.
And then,
that's fine.
At the end, the public's going to decide
You're right.
who they
Top
want to
play
take.
doesn't mean that's play you want to take. That's all I'm saying.
Thanks for the clarification. Yep, for sure. In terms of spreads, you got the Bengals at -8.5 versus Patriots. Seahawks -6 versus Broncos. Bills -6. Saints and Bears -4.5. Panthers and Titans are the opponents there. You can keep going down the list. Bucks 3.5 versus the Commanders. Niners 3.5 versus the Jets. Chargers 3.5 versus the Raiders.
I don't think you need to keep going too much further
Where do you
than that.
go? Yeah, where do you go? The highest win rate here is 77% with Bengals over the Patriots.
Yep.
So, I mean, if
It also screams highest popularity.
Yeah, if we're thinking chalk, we're thinking people are landing on the Bengals here.
Right. For those of you that have been here before, you kind of know our shtick of trying to stay away from the teams that everybody wants. No chalk, no chalk. For those of you new here, the gist of this is if I could tell you right now that the Bengals were going to win 90% of the time, but 99% of the field was going to be on them, you just don't take them. And I'm sure we'll cover again and again as to why. But the idea is if you took any other team, if they lose, I mean, you could win the whole pool.
Sure.
Right? And you just don't want to be in a spot where if they win, well, that's great, but you advanced with absolutely everybody else. You've picked up no ground. So the higher the popularity, it doesn't mean you'll never take a team. They could be the most popular team of the week, but the math just plays out where they're still worth taking. But most of the time, you're avoiding the most popular team of the week.
Sure. Bengals are 1-4 in their last 5.
Opening days. Openers.
In their openers, and their only win was in OT. They are year in and year out a slow starting team. It seems like Burrow gets off to a slow start, whether he's coming off an injury, and he's coming off another injury this year.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know who we're taking yet. Like I haven't paid enough attention to who we're taking, but I would bet a lot of money right now we do not end up taking Cincinnati in week 1. Just very unlikely.
We'll tell you, all 4 winning entries last year took the chalk week 1. They took the Commanders. It didn't look good for them for a minute.
No, it looked terrible for him. I remember that.
But they got through. And interesting enough, I went back and all 4 landed on them.
That is interesting. Now, that said, if you go and look and see, Cincinnati looks like they have pretty good future value this year. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what the Commanders' future value was, but it couldn't have been too great.
Good point.
Like, I don't think you're really looking to. The only other time people ended up looking to take them later was against the Giants, and I think the Giants beat them. That was Tommy DeVito's breakout game, if you will.
DeVito broke some
Danny
hearts.
DeVito, baby.
Oh, he broke some hearts for sure. And then you land here on the Seahawks versus the rookie quarterback. Mm-hmm. You got the Bills, Cardinals. Cardinals are supposed to be much improved. What are the Bills going to be like? A lot of turnover, both from a receiver standpoint, defense standpoint. Saints, Panthers. I think the Panthers will be improved this year. How much?
I think
don't
the Panthers,
know.
you think they're going to be worse this year? Of course they're going to be improved. That's just like improved enough you think you're going to be putting money on them. Do you think we're ever taking them in Survivor? I think it's unlikely.
So you have a list of games here that are in the 60%, 61, 64, 67, 68%. You're not warm and fuzzy about that. You're trying to find those games that, have the higher win rate. And, week 1, the NFL turns over, who knows?
It does. I remember a couple years ago, the year we did win, week 1, it was the, I say I remember now, I'm trying to remember who it was against. It was the Colts game with Matt Ryan, I believe, right?
Matty Ice.
And the game ends up, goes to overtime and ends up tied. And we lost like 25% of our entries or something in week 1 and what we thought was a great spot. You just don't know.
You just don't know. You just don't know. See where it goes.
And don't forget, by the way, ties lose. You tie,
oh yeah,
you're gone.
ties lose.
You must win. You must
in
win.
the Circa Survivor Contest, the
Yep.
ties lose.
See, if
for
I'm
sure.
looking at this, I know you gave it in terms of point spreads. If I'm looking at this in terms of again, it's pretty early, but theoretical popularity, it
Yeah.
looks like Cincinnati is by far going to be the most popular pick of the week, and somewhere between 30 and 40%. Buffalo is probably the second most popular, with about half that, give or take. 12 to 20 or something. And then you're followed by like New Orleans, Seattle, San Francisco, the popularity front. So, I would kind of take that into account. As you guys know, before we, if we're still playing, we never tell you who we're going to pick, because it's a pretty big advantage to know who someone's going to pick.
Sure.
And I'll occasionally tell you who I'm not going to pick. Like I said, I view it as I haven't paid enough attention yet, but I'm very unlikely we're taking Cincinnati, and I can't see us ever taking, Denver, the Jets, or New England either. So there are some, easy stayaways on the bottom of the board.
Sure.
But you start to kind of look at teams that are second, third, fourth down the list, and you can find some decent value there. There's something of a drop off, but there's some pretty reasonable value once you get away from a team like Cincinnati.
Yeah. It's interesting. There potentially can be some serious carnage right out the gate.
It's great.
I just love it.
It's great, because then you see your equity spike. Last year was a little torturous for us because we kept avoiding the chalk. So we would avoid, say, the most popular team of the week, and we'd had enough entries with partners that we might take a mix of like the second, third, and fourth best team of the week, right?
Yeah.
So still pretty big favorites. And every week, the biggest favorite would win, and the second and third would lose, and we'd get through with our fourth. And it was just incredibly frustrating.
Oh,
and it was like 5 out of 6 weeks that kept happening, and we just kept dwindling down. And then everybody's saying, maybe we should change our strategy. And it's like, yeah, sure, maybe. But, we did win last year. And, there's a lot of variance, as the poker players like to say.
Of course.
And it's difficult. You got to be careful about being results oriented. You got to get lucky, but you've also got to
Yes.
you need a strong stomach for this contest.
Oh, without a doubt. This contest is just, it's the greatest football contest. I'm obviously biased, but we played it before we won it. And gosh, the emotions that it puts you through, and when you're knocked out, to be knocked out of this tournament is very similar to you said that WSOP. I've been knocked out of that too. So
I remember I
brutal.
was in Arizona when we got knocked out last year, and it was Arizona playing the Rams, and I was visiting a friend, and I was out there in Scottsdale area, and I'm at a sports bar watching the game, and we had the Rams, and I almost broke a TV in the sports bar. I couldn't believe it.
Couldn't believe it.
And my wife and friends are like, it's just a football game. Did you bet on this game? I'm like, just don't even talk to me. Don't even speak.
Yeah.
There were a couple of fourth down plays, some questionable calls. There's always questionable calls. But yeah, it's so much fun. And if you don't have $1,000, find 3 friends, come up with $250 each.
Correct.
Seriously, and actually, I'm not kidding. It's better with friends. It's not even close.
It's so
and I had
much
a
fun.
friend, one of our friends in the group, a couple years ago when we did ultimately win, but he called me when we were down to 14. And he said, I got to tell you something. If we bust now, we don't win a dime. This is the most fun I've ever had betting sports. And not only that, he said, the memories that we put together, just
100%.
together as friends, talking about
100%.
all these things, we're not going to forget. He didn't think we were going to win anyway. He's still the chances of winning are 0. But
Sure.
he goes, just the memories we have from this thing, that's going to last a lifetime. That'll last a lot longer than the money will ever last. The money will come and go.
100%. Absolutely. No, it's just the memories and going through it with your group, your friend.
Yep.
It's just it's an unbelievable ride, and I hope we get on that ride again.
We're going to get on the ride. We just got to make sure the last one's off.
Yes. Well, speaking of ride, why don't you ride over to survivorsweat.com, where it's a one-stop shop for all things Circa Survivor Contest. New website. I think we discussed that prior to the summer. It is now live, ready to go. It's been beta tested. You can upload your entries over there. There's research tools help you make decisions on your picks, news, updates, of course, the marketplace to help you monetize the equity if you advance from week to week. There's a tutorial video on the homepage that can help you navigate the platform. Has a weekly and season planner, optimal path, so on and so forth. There are tons of tools. Great community. Yeah.
It's great. I think a lot of this is going to be fun. It's going to get, just like poker, you're going to have a lot of systems that are going to help you figure things out. And then there's going to be a lot of bad systems. And then you're going to end up with a lot of people that are going to have a lot of good systems. I think Survivor Sweat's one of them, but we'll see as the season progresses. And then the contests are just going to get tougher. So when I'm saying that, not that they're not already tough, they're tough in terms of number of players. But, when I say some teams likely to be 35% of the picks, if everybody thinks that and they don't pick them, then suddenly they're not 35% of the picks anymore. Then maybe they're 8% of the picks. Then maybe, like if you only told me 8% of the people were taking Cincinnati, I would probably say that's probably tops on our list. I'm not running the math, but probably. Oh, yeah. And so you start to end up with some of the estimates will be wrong. So it's very cool. As the information gets out there, it evens the playing field for people. It also means if you don't go get the information that's out there, I mean, you're just at a massive disadvantage. Like if you're sitting there, like my wife might say, well, I like the color of their uniform. I mean, she might win 6 or 7 weeks in a row by fluke, but like you're just at such a huge disadvantage. The information's there. You may as well go get it.
Yes.
And, actually when I was talking to some of the guys over there, I don't know if they ever did this or not. I'm still waiting to hear back, but I know they were talking about trying to put together some sort of like high roller thing there.
Like a Survivor Sweat 10K Invitational or something like that.
Which would be a blast. So you wouldn't end up with 10,000 players, I'm sure, at 10K. Maybe you end up with 20 players or 50 players or something. Yeah. I don't know. But I have no idea how much interest they'd have for something like that, which is kind of cool. So if anybody out there thinks it might be fun, just put a drop in the chat and maybe we can nag them.
Yeah.
And if nobody's interested, there's no point in doing it. You don't want a 2-person Survivor contest. It's not a lot of fun.
No. Yeah,
it would change the strategy, though.
Oh, it definitely would. It definitely would. Yeah, head on over to survivorsweat.com and take a look at the tools and take a look at the new platform.
And cool. I'll say it again, like we said, if you can get to Vegas, get to Vegas. Go into Circa, buy the entry. 100%. It's worth it. And also because Circa charges absolutely nothing. So I love to support them wherever possible for this contest. So you should go in there and, get your entry and go head into the Asian place and grab some of the rice, which is really good.
Yes,
the fried rice. But I mean, spend some money there, whatever. If you, so if you're in Vegas or can get to Vegas and you're just lazy and want to use the proxy, sure. But I would actually go down to Circa, buy in, and still use a proxy to make sure you get your picks in. But I would definitely support Circa. If you absolutely positively can't make it to Vegas, then go online on the platform and find someone that's selling it. They may be selling it I'm sure they're selling it for more than what they paid for it, or they wouldn't be selling it. However, I'm sure it's also cheaper than flying to Vegas and getting a hotel and everything else, right? But Vegas is a great place to go. If you head to Circa, buy a bunch of entries, and find yourself out by that pool, I guarantee you'll have a good time.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing better than going there.
You may not remember your good time, but you will have a good time when you're there.
Signing up for the contest, meeting the team over there. They're just so great.
They are. They're actually passionate. They're not just like, it's weird. Like you go there, and I remember after we won, we ended up at Circa watching some of the playoff games, the NFL that year. And Derek, it's like he's out there as if and I know he owns the casino. I know he's not literally placing his bets at his own sportsbook, and I'm not claiming he is. But he knows what his positions are, and he's out there really rooting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like he's rooting, and he's rooting and he'll root for Detroit no matter what the positions are. He's a diehard fan.
100%.
But these are guys that are running a shop that they actually care about the underlying sport. It's not just like show me the numbers.
You talk to him about the contest, and
he's a sports junkie, man. He loves it.
Yeah.
I bet you he's a little. He hasn't said this, but I bet you if you asked him, he would tell you one of the things he probably hates about the contest is he can't be in it.
100%.
I'm sure he would love to be in this contest. Right in his wheelhouse. So much fun. But they're just good. They really are just good people down there. And I don't say that about a lot of the properties in town. Some of them are beautiful properties, but they're just businesses. Here it's a business, but it's almost like the business is secondary. They're just passionate about it.
They're like family over there. All of them. Yeah, I tip my cap. It's they run the best contests. They have the best book, best place to watch games, best pool to watch games. The place is incredible. Get to Vegas, get signed up for the contest. If you can't, hit survivorsweat.com, get yourself in there, and then maybe you can find yourself cashing a big check.
Exactly.
At Circa.
And by the way, if you do win, you will have to get to Vegas to get the check. They're not mailing it to you. You must show up. Whether you buy it on Survivor Sweat or anywhere else, you will have to get to Vegas.
Yes, of course. And it'll come with the proxy. That way you won't have to be the no pick. And speaking of, don't be the no pick. So even if you are in town, go over to Survivor Sweat platform, secure a proxy. Last year alone, there were 68 no picks. I think the implied value was 306,000 or something to that.
At the time they had the no picks, yeah.
Yeah. And then, who knows? So
anything can happen. Like we used to say, who could do this? And then we did it. Or I did it. Anything can happen. You could be on a flight someplace and you lose your Wi-Fi. I mean, who knows? And also don't forget, like if you're trying to put your picks in, because it's sort of what happened to us, if you're putting them in at Circa, once you put them in, they're locked. So if you put them in the night before and there's an injury in the morning, you're kind of stuck. So if you put them in with a proxy the night before, if there's an injury in the morning, you can still change your pick.
Correct.
But the reason I'm saying the night before is then you don't have to worry you forget to put it in the morning of, right? So it gives you 2 shots to get the pick in rather than if you put it in direct, there's only 1. Not a lot of downside.
Yep. Well, that's it for the start of the 2024. If you have any questions, you want to chat about the contest, hit us up on X, mbuckmiller at RosenblumR. Don't forget to give us a like or subscribe to the pod, and of course over at survivorsweat.com.
And quick, I'm going to put you on the spot. Give me a number. What percentage, or I'll give you a number. Over, under, we lose more or less than 22% week 1.
I'm going to go less.
Okay, we'll see.
I'm going to go less.
I mean, less is probably the favorite, but you lose Cincinnati, you're over right away. So then otherwise it's, just a combination of a few other teams. But
Yeah.
I think less is probably good, but it'll be interesting to see. I think it'll be double digits.
Maybe
I don't think it's going to be
because
like
I'm
6.
just hoping that we don't lose more than 22%.
What are you talking about? I'm hoping we lose 90% as long as it's not us. Although I guess in fauress, that cuts our viewership because, people tend to want to.
Well, they can rebuy.
That's
they
true.
can go back in. Maybe
It's true.
Maybe they jump on SurvivorSweat.com and get a
All right,
piece.
I'll let you get out of here. I was just giving you a hard time.
All right.
All right, thanks a
So
lot.
Get your picks in.
Yep.
And we will see you next time.
Pick early, pick often.
Yes.
Looking for Survivor strategy articles? Did you lose your last entry on a Survivor contest and wish you could rebuy? Check out our marketplace and you may find what you need. Head over to survivorsweat.com for all things Survivor. And we'll see you next week for the next Survivor Sweat podcast.